Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name is Nick, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Cloudboom Strike LS. So the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Cloudboom Strike LS are two of my favourite carbon plate racing shoes of 2024. We've talked a lot about the Metaspeed Sky Paris on the channel. We've been setting PBs in it all year. Haven't done so much on the Cloudboom Strike LS yet because it hasn't been officially released, but that does seem to be imminent given that it's now popping up on the US website at least with a coming soon sign. So I thought it was time to start comparing it to our favourite carbon racing shoes that we've been using throughout the year. Start with the price, and the Cloudboom Strike LS is significantly more expensive than the Asics. It's $330 and I think it's going to be £330 as well. The Metaspeed Sky Paris is £220 or $250. They are both very lightweight racing shoes. The Metaspeed Sky Paris is slightly lighter. It's 188 grams or 6.6 ounces in a UK 9, whereas the Cloudboom Strike LS is 192 grams or 6.8 ounces in a UK 9. The Metaspeed Sky Paris has a drop of 5mm, whereas the Cloudboom Strike LS has a drop of 4mm. They are both 39.5mm at the heel, so the Cloudboom Strike comes down to 35.5 at the forefoot, whereas the Metaspeed comes down to 34.5. Comes to the design of the two shoes. With the Cloudboom Strike LS, obviously this light spray upper takes a lot of the attention. It is a seamless one-piece upper that is fused to the bottom of the shoe using a robot in a very impressive manner that only takes 3 minutes. It is worth looking at the video online to see how they do it. It also reduces waste and makes the shoe a fair bit lighter than the standard Cloudboom Strike, which obviously puts it on a par with the Asics in terms of weight as a result. You've got a Helion HF midsole, which is On's Superfoam, their PIBA-based foam. You've got 2 layers of that with a carbon speed board running in between those. Then you have a rubber outsole, good coverage at the forefoot, 2 strips of rubber at the back, the kind of standard setup you have with super shoes with pretty minimal coverage, but all the key areas are covered for grip and durability. With the Asics, you've got a Motion Wrap 2.0 upper, which is a very lightweight and breathable material with a more traditional design than the On shoe, with a little bit of a heel counter and some padding around the back of the shoe there, and a traditional tongue. The midsole is made from Asics' FF Turbo Plus foam, which is a nice bouncy, responsive material, obviously very lightweight, and you've got a full-length carbon plate running through that. Then you have an Asics grip outsole, again, very minimal coverage to keep the shoe light. Lots of holes even where the rubber is on the shoe there, but forefoot and heel pretty well covered with the Asics. The rubber doesn't extend all the way back, and if you are a heel striker, you'll see a little bit of wear and tear there. Happens more on my left foot than my right foot, but yeah, you will see that wear. Interestingly, both shoes, considering how lightweight they are, don't have any kind of cutouts on the bottom of the shoe or on the sides there, which is almost unusual now with the top carbon plate running shoes. A lot of them do those cutouts to reduce weight, sometimes can affect stability, but these two shoes, which are among the lightest I've ever tested, don't have those. So when it comes to fit of the two shoes, I've got a UK 9 in both, which is my normal size across both these brands and in general, but they are slightly different sizes in the US. So a UK 9 in the Asics is a US 10, and then a UK 9 in the On is a US 9.5. I think I've got a similar amount of room in the toe box with these shoes, so maybe the Asics is a little bit more dialed in than some of the other shoes in their range. It might be something you want to look at if you are quite big for your size, but I had a really good fit in my normal size with both shoes in terms of length and hold. The Asics, just a pretty normal shoe, very good upper, had a really good fit with it, no concerns at all. Probably say a bit more about the On because it is such an unusual fit. Now, it takes a little bit of getting on this shoe. That said, people are using these for triathlon, so they must be able to get in and out of them much quicker than I can. But yeah, it takes me a little bit of time to get the shoe on, but once it is on, the upper is fantastic. I've really enjoyed running in this shoe. I haven't had any problems with it stretching or not holding the foot securely enough. I've done 150k in the shoe now, and it still feels as tight as it did at the start. And it really has a very clear, barely there feel, which is quite a rare thing to come across. You put it on, it was really noticeable when I was wearing both shoes at the same time, actually, that the Asics upper has never bothered me in any way, but it was a lot more noticeable on the foot when I was wearing both shoes than the On's upper because it is that single piece material. There's no cushioning, there's nothing there to irritate or rub, and yeah, it feels very, very good. Obviously, the downside of this is you can't adjust the fit, so it's a bit more of a gamble as to whether the shoe will fit you really well, but yeah, it's been perfectly fine for me in an off-the-shelf size, and I've really enjoyed the fit. And both shoes, I would say, stick to your normal size, but maybe the Asics is a little bit more dialed in than some of the other shoes in the Asics range. You're going to get a bit more room in a shoe like the Super Blast or something like that, which you probably would expect with a racing shoe. On to the run test, and I've done a lot of running in both of these shoes. I think I'm up to about 150k in the Cloudboom Strike LS now, and the Asics on this pair I've done about 240, 250k, and they've both been really, really impressive. And I think there's a lot of similarities between them in their kind of approach and ride feel. They're not the softest and squishiest carbon shoes on the market compared to something like the Alphafly or the Hoka Cielo X1, which have more sink in and bounce in their foams. They've got still quite soft foams, obviously, but they're more responsive, and they really seem to deliver a very fast turnover. Is the main thing I notice. You really get pushed onto your toes, get a really nice responsive pop off the toes with both shoes, and then they have these really lightweight designs that really help keep your feet turning over when you're running at your race paces. So Asics, I think it's fair to say at this point, is my favourite racing shoe ever, and it's a shoe I've run my marathon PB in, my half marathon PB now, even my park run PB I've run in this shoe, and it's just got an exceptional ride feel. I really just, every time I put it on, like, I bring it back out and I'm comparing it to a new shoe, or I have a race lined up, and I've, mostly been using other shoes for testing in the interim. It really reminds me of how amazing it feels. Just get so much pop off the forefoot in particular, and it almost feels like that's the bounciest bit of the shoe when I'm running in it. Even though you have, more stack at the heel and it's probably a bit squidgier there, it really just feels you're pushed very quickly onto that forefoot and get that really nice explosive feeling off the toes that just helps you run fast. And then you've got that lightweight design, which helps you maintain those fast paces. I find, as a high cadence runner, that light design I really appreciate in keeping my legs turning over deep into races. Even though it is such a lightweight shoe, you still get loads of support there. Like in the marathon, around the London Marathon, it really felt comfortable going into that final 5-6k when I was really starting to tire, but the shoe didn't have any kind of hot spots, and it wasn't getting any discomfort from running in a stiff shoe with a plate in it or anything like that. It's really just beautifully balanced and just works so well for me. And then the On Cloudboom Strike LS, a lot of that is true of the shoe. Like, and this was a bit more of a surprise. Like, the Metaspeed Sky Paris was a surprise to me because I'd liked the previous version of the Metaspeed Sky, but didn't expect it to suddenly become my favourite shoe overall. I hadn't really been amazed by anything that On had made in terms of carbon shoes in the past, but the Cloudboom Strike LS, felt great out of the box, and has felt great for me ever since. Like, I've only raced once in the shoe. Actually, it probably would have been my half marathon PB, but unfortunately, like, the last turn of the course, we got sent the wrong way, so it ended up slightly short. And instead of running my first sub 70, I ran my first ever 68, but the course was 160 meters short. But I think that's probably the best I've ever run a half marathon. Like, the Asics was a great run, and that is my PB. But I felt amazing in the shoe, and it really did actually surprise me. Like, I wondered if it's got a slightly firmer feel than the Asics. Maybe I wouldn't get as much from it, especially coming back from the foam in the second half of the race, but that wasn't the case at all. Like, it really just turns over really well and still gives you, a nice amount of pop off the toes. It's not as bouncy on that forefoot as I think the Asics is, and I'm not sure it's quite as soft all round, but you still get that really fast transition, a really smooth ride, and lots of nice response off the toes still. And I've done lots of tough long sessions in it, and it is a comfortable shoe over those longer distances as well, with again that similar lightweight feeling, enhanced by this upper, which really does create something a little bit special on the way it feels on the foot. Like, it's not something that I think is necessarily going to change the performance that much, apart from the fact it makes it lighter, but it does create quite a unique feeling that is very pleasant during races when you've got that barely there feel on the top of your foot. Did do a short run in both shoes at the same time, but the main takeaway for me was that they do feel quite similar. They have that similar lightweight, fast turnover, poppy toe off, but do feel a bit softer in the Asics. It might be because it's got a few more miles in it potentially, but I definitely feel you get a bit more spring off the toes with the Asics, and that's where it really starts to shine for me. Like, they both feel really good, they both turn over really well, but I just feel like I'm getting a little bit more punch from the Asics as I come onto that forefoot and get that nice explosive toe off. In terms of durability, like, we talked a little bit about the On upper, but I'm 150k in. I don't know how long On expects these shoes to last or anything like that, but I feel like the midsole is as good as ever. I don't feel like it's changed at all. It's still got quite a nice level of firmness and responsiveness to it. It hasn't softened too much, like, from use, or compressed in any way, so that still feels really good. As I mentioned, the fit section, the upper still feels good and hasn't stretched too much, and haven't got too much wear on the bottom of the shoe. Interestingly, with the Asics, you've always found with the Metaspeed Sky series, if you're a heel striker, you'll get a bit of this at the back of it. Now, this only started appearing on the Sky Paris after about 200k in the shoe, I found, and so it's only on my left side where I'm a slightly more pronounced heel striker. I land a bit more midfoot on my right foot, and it hasn't really happened there yet, but you can see there's a bit of discoloration and wear on the midfoot there. The On, I think, is heading probably in a pretty similar direction, but has about 100k less on it. You can see the midfoot getting a bit discolored there, but again, I don't think this is going to be anything that's going to affect performance of these shoes. You're not going to get any kind of loss or drop off in their performance because some exposed foam gets a bit ripped up on the outsole. The actual outsole is still wearing really well and gripping really well, and the midsole still feels good. And probably, I would say, the thing that will determine the lifespan of the shoe is probably that midsole, which might compress a bit more as you get towards 300, 400k. Verdict. These are both shoes that I really love, but actually the verdict is quite an easy one for me because I do slightly prefer the Asics, and it's a lot cheaper and a lot less risky in terms of the fit, because you have got a really nice upper on the shoe, and you are going to be able to lock it down if it doesn't quite work for you out of the box. The On upper, though, is something that does count in its favour. It's both a blessing and a curse, I guess is the way to put it, because if you do get on with the fit, it's an amazing upper. It feels really nice on the foot, really creates a lovely barely there feeling that makes the shoe lighter and feel lighter and just really good for racing, but the risk is it won't quite work for you. You can't can't, then adjust it. It might still stretch once I take it past kind of 200, 250k, who knows. That's a risk all round if you're buying a shoe off the peg with an upper like this, but if it does work for you, it's a fantastic upper. The more traditional upper on the Asics obviously gives you that ability to adjust it and lock it down nice and tight for racing, so that's the safer bet, but that is probably a feature that does stand out on the On. When it comes to the midsole foams, they're both really, really good, but I slightly prefer the setup on the Asics with the way it just feels a bit more explosive off the toes. So yeah, all around, these are two really good shoes. The On is very expensive for a novel experience, and On shoes are generally a bit more expensive, and there is something special about the shoe with that upper, but the Asics is the one I go for on pure performance and indeed the price. That's a comparison of the Cloudboom Strike LS and the Metaspeed Sky Paris. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.